Hey everyone, this is Athletes and Antiquities, and in this video, I'm going to be talking about why I think the Pokemon hobby is condition pampered, and what I mean by that. So my main idea is I feel like people are way more focused on the condition of a card than the card itself. So when we were kids, trading and showing off our cards on the playground, a card was a card. You could have a Charizard, and it could be folded in half and ran over by a car, but it was still a Charizard. And I'm showing that off with my PSA 5 here. It's from my childhood, which is why I just wanted to get it encapsulated. But yeah, it's in fairly poor condition, which is why it got the 5. But it was a childhood card, and as a kid, I didn't care about the condition. I didn't care that there were creases in it and there was a lot of whitening. It didn't matter. And I don't know about you, but I kind of miss that. Obviously, good condition cards will demand a premium over a poor condition card. And when you're spending money in this hobby, it's imperative to pay attention to condition, to use our dollar intelligently. But even understanding this, there comes a point where people are hyper fixated on condition to the point that it seems like the love for the card itself is lost somewhat. When people see a card they like, but it has a white dot on it, they sometimes lose attraction towards it. Moving on to the next item, like, oh, that might be a PSA 8. I don't really want that, and they'll move on. And I know you're thinking, like, what is it bad to go for PSA 10 cards? And no, like, I have a PSA 10 here. I don't really buy my own PSA 10s, but if I do get a PSA 10 that I've graded myself, I'll often keep it, like this beautiful reverse holo Charizard. So I'm not saying it's bad to collect PSA 10s by any means, but I think it's more collectors need to stop and smell the roses. They need to slow down a little bit. People just entering the hobby, they shouldn't be asking if they should grade their ultramodern card they just pulled to sell it, or posting a flat V asking if it could PSA 10. I feel like that's not really what the hobby is about. And I think because there's a lot more money coming into this hobby, a lot more people are more focused on that, and people aren't really just appreciating the cards for the cards itself as much as I think they could be. To me, it doesn't feel like an organic way to enjoy the hobby. Sometimes the best way to enjoy the hobby is to start a binder. It can be a binder of your favorite set, your favorite Pokemon, an illustrator you really like, or just cards that catch your eye. So sorry for the jarring cut. I just wanted to make a quick cut to show off a binder I have. It's not super fleshed out. It's not super impressive. There's a lot of things I'm missing, but I just want to show you that I am trying to get much more into binders, because once I started a binder, I realized how much better cards looked when you're displaying them. A slab is great for putting it on a shelf or something, but to look at a set, a binder is just, it's so much fun to build, and it displays very well when you're trying to show off a set. So like, I've been trying to get full arts just from sets that I really enjoy. Like, I already have the black and white ones that are in PSA grade, so I'll have to get some for the binder, but I just have, some stuff from Generations. I got just some miscellaneous stuff from XY. Then I'm trying to get all of the character rares, so I have a lot to do. I have a lot of spaces that I'm still missing, and I have all these in order, so they'll go in set order, but it's just been a fun thing to build, and I think that all of us can stop and slow down and build a binder and really just enjoy the hobby in a different way. And I do the same thing in sports. And so, like, I don't really talk about sports as much on this channel, but I do really love sports, and building these sports binders is cool too. All these niche sets from the 90s, like 1990 hot card. Then I have a bunch of spaces for more stuff. Then I'm building the 1994 marquee prisms, trying to get all the silvers and all the golds from marquee prisms, which was an insert in a very kind of niche set, so they're a little bit hard to find. But it's been a fun thing to build, and I got some other sets that I built. It's so much fun to display them in this like 9-pocket kind of way. I think more of us should kind of get into that. I think it's a great different way to approach the hobby if all you deal with is slabs. So now getting back to my starting view, this balance can be seen very well in vintage sports. The very wealthy collectors are buying nines and tens for thousands of dollars, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands sometimes. but the average collector is just getting a copy in a reasonable condition. And people enjoy their cards equally despite these condition differences. Like here, probably my favorite card in my entire collection is this Jackie Robinson. When I look at this Jackie Robinson card, I don't see a PSA 3. When I look at it, I see a piece of history. You know, it's a Jackie Robinson card from 1952. The grade is irrelevant to me. It's just a beautiful like specimen from so long ago about such an important moment in sports history, honestly. It's bigger than baseball, it's bigger than US sports. It was a sports history moment. And just having a card connected to that, it's just so important to me. It could be a 1, it could be an authentic with a corner chipped off. It wouldn't matter to me. The grade is the grade. And obviously these are vintage cards, so condition it's hard to keep a condition for 70 years, where cards coming out in the year 2000, it's much easier to keep those in PSA 10 condition. And also when grading already existed and stuff. There's a lot of that plays into it. But still, I feel like, you know, it's important to really just stop and appreciate the art. You know, as a channel that focuses a lot on financials, I do my best to talk about being intelligent with your money, but also stopping and just appreciating that art. Like I was saying, you know, many of the cards I show off are PSA 8s. Some are ungraded cards that would have gotten a 5. Like this card, I mean, it is a 5, but it is graded, but you know, it's a 5 that I appreciate just as much as if it was an 8, because I have that childhood attachment to it. You know, even still, you know, sometimes I struggle with this comparison now. You know, being proud of my 8 of whatever, but then feeling, you know, outdone by someone on Instagram who has a PSA 10. It's something that I am sure many of us feel when watching these big content creators, and it's something we kind of just take a step back with. You know, you don't need a 10 to enjoy that card. You don't even need a 9, even if it's modern. You know, cards coming straight out of a pack. If you want to get it graded for whatever reason, it gets a 9. Does that mean you enjoy that card less? You know, I don't think it should. You know, this whole video might seem like an old man yells at cloud thing. I'm just like ranting about something super minor that doesn't really matter, or like, oh, I'm not happy with the way things are. I don't want it to come across that way, but like it might, so I apologize. But it's more just like, I think we should all learn a thing or two from our childhood selves on the playground. You know, when you think back to when you were trading with friends and you'd trade your beat up whatever holo for their beat up holo, and you loved it. You know, I think we can learn something from our childhood selves with that mentality. We may not have made the best trades, and I'm sure it'd be great if we knew what a sleeve was, but you know, our childhood selves could look at a Charizard that was so scratched you could barely read it, or an ancient Mew that was folded in half with a mysticism and proudness that I almost have an envy for in a hobby now, that it looks for flaws when the number on the plastic sleeve isn't a 10. You know, if something isn't a 10, it's immediately kind of perceived as lesser. And that's something that I think will always exist, because obviously if there's a grade higher, you know, there's something wrong with the card. But I think people just need to appreciate the card more, and obviously focus on the money for, in terms of, you know, buying things intelligently. But everything doesn't have to be bought with this idea of how can I resell it down the line. And I think once people kind of get back to their roots, I think the hobby will become a lot more organic than it really is. So let me know what you think about this. Am I way off? Am I just complaining for no reason, or do you agree with it? You know, let me know. But that's it for today. Thanks.